Hey everyone, welcome back to our video series about building real-time collaborative apps. My name is Ayça Baş. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft, and I'm super excited to dive into part 3 of this video series with you today. We did the introduction for this video series by showing you what kind of technologies we're going to use. In the second part, you learn more about Fluid Framework from Dan, and you also understood how you can set up your resources for Fluid Framework and integrate this into your app. In this session, we will focus more on Microsoft 365 and how you can integrate real-time change notifications using Graph. We will discover more about setting up resources in this session. And once we set up our resources, in the next part, we will learn how to integrate Graph change notifications into our app. Okay, let's have a quick recap about our scenario. Let's say I'm running a large company and we build our own collaboration app. We call it a brainstorm app. And as you see in the previous session, we already have a Fluid Framework for real-time brainstorming notes. Now we want to personalize our app a little bit more. And we know that Microsoft Graph provides us data from Microsoft 365 Cloud. So we use Microsoft Graph Toolkit to basically integrate authentication and have the login capability by using login component and MSAL provider. We also leverage from Graph Toolkit by using people component so that we integrated people information. Whoever is in the session with us, we can track it on the top right corner of the session. And now we want to go one step further and we want to get more information. So while we are collaborating in the brainstorm app, if one of our colleagues become available, we want to receive real-time notification about that person's present status. So how we can track changes real-time in Microsoft 365 data? The best way to do it is leveraging from Microsoft Graph change notifications. Change notifications is a mechanism that allows you to get notified when an object changes in a resource that you subscribe. This resource can be anything like Outlook, user, group, it can be OneDrive, Teams, any resource you choose from Microsoft 365. What if we have thousands of people working in our company and we try to track their presence changes, but seems like it's quite difficult to do that using traditional webhooks because we see that there are millions of data coming through during the day. We have lots of employees. How we can optimize this data flow and still manage to get real-time data in our own app? We can leverage from Microsoft Azure technologies to do that, and in this session I will show you how we can basically get the graph change notifications data using Azure Event Hubs. So here's the flow we will follow. We will track change notifications using Azure Event Hubs. To do that, we of course need to create Azure Event Hubs and then Key Vault. Once we create Event Hubs, we will use the Key Vault to carry the connection string securely, and then we will create our subscription using the Key Vault URL. And to create the subscription, we will leverage from Azure Power Automate to basically automate the subscription flow, so we don't need to worry about the expiration, or we don't need to worry about handling any sort of data or code. We can go for the low code option in the Power Automate, but if you're interested in basically building this into your app, you can also do the HTTP graph call into your app too. Once we create our subscription using Power Automate, we will start getting the notifications in the Event Hub. So in this session, I will show you how to do all this in a demo. And of course, last but not least, as you see in the URL at the bottom, we will leverage from Event Hub and we will use Azure Key Vault URL, and then we will use a secret name and the domain name to create our notification URL, and then this will help us to create subscription, and then we will start listening the changes in the related resource. Okay, let's see the demo. In this demo, I will show you how to set up resources for Microsoft Graph change notifications. Alright, so I'm in the Azure portal, and the first thing I'll do is just create a resource, and I'll create Event Hub. I'll choose Event Hubs, and I will create Event Hubs here. Let's make sure that we have the right subscription, and I will create a new resource group for my project so I can keep my resources under the same resource group. So I'll just call the resource group as Microsoft 365 Resources Brainstorm App. And my Event Hub name will be something unique, Brainstorm App-Event Hubs. I will choose location as the West US, and I will choose the pricing as standard. I will click Review and Create. Once the review is done, we will go ahead and create our app, our Event Hubs. Okay, once the deployment is done, we will just go to the Event Hubs. This is our namespace, so we can carry more than one Event Hub here. And we just need to create our Event Hubs under the tab Event Hubs. Here I can create more than one Event Hub. For our demo, we just need one. I will create Event Hub name called Presence-Event Hub. I will create this one. And then I will go into my Event Hub. And we sort of need to access our Event Hub. And to do that, we will use Share Access Policies. I will add a new policy to create subscription. And here I'll call it policy-send-listen. I will use this policy to create subscription. I will basically click on the policy and I will copy the connection string primary key. Next, we need to create Azure Key Vault to carry our connection string. I will create a new resource. I'll type Key Vault, and I will create a Key Vault. Let's make sure we have the right subscription. We choose the same resource group, M365 Resources Brainstorm App. I will type something unique here again, Brainstorm App-Key Vault. Oh, seems like it's taken. Let's type 1. Okay, then it's unique. And I'll choose West US again for this one. And I will review and create. Once review is done, we will create our Key Vault. When the deployment is done, we will go to our Key Vault. And here, I need to create a secret so that I can carry my connection string in the secret. I will generate a new secret and I will type here as any name I want. I can call it Key Vault secret, and I just paste my connection string in the value, and then I will click create. As you know, we will use Key Vault to create our subscription, so we need to basically get the connection string through the Key Vault. And to do that, the final step is missing. We need to go to Access Policies, and we need to add a new access policy. We just need to give a permission of secrets. I will select all, and I will edit principal. We will basically add Microsoft Graph Change Tracking principal here. Let's make sure you type it correctly. I'll just type this correctly, change tracking, and there we go. We will add Microsoft Graph Change Tracking, and we will add it in our Key Vault so that the change tracking can access to our secret and the Key Vault URI. To create the subscription, we will need two things from our Key Vault. We will need the Vault URI, and we will need the secret name. All right, once we have these two, the next step is to start creating our subscription. First thing we need before we create the subscription flow, we will need Azure Active Directory app registration. So I'll go into my demo tenant, Azure Active Directory, and then I will create a new app registration. I click on app registration, new registration. I can call this app anything I want, Brainstorm app subscription. I will choose the support access type as anything, and here we need to use redirect URI that helps us to do the authentication in Power Automate flow. So I'll register this one, and then there are a couple things I need to do here. So first, I need to go to authentication and enable implicit grant as access and ID tokens. Second, I need to add API permissions. We will track presence changes. That's why I will choose graph delegated permissions. I'll type presence and we will select those two as presence read and read all. Once we are done with the permissions, the next thing we will create is the secret. So here I will create a new client secret so that we can use this in our Power Automate flow to create authentication. Okay, I will copy this one. Now we can go ahead and start building our flow in Power Automate. So I will type in the browser flow.microsoft.com. It will direct me to the Power Automate. I'm logged in as my demo tenant again, so that I can basically use this tenant to create my flows. Here, the first thing we will do is creating the custom connector. Under the data, you can find custom connectors, and here there are several options you can create custom connectors. For us, we will import our custom connector using the open file. So I'll just show you where you can find the open file in our project. If you go to our project on GitHub, you will see a folder called M365 subscription flow. When you extend this folder, you will see there's something called subscription.swagger.json. This is a file we will use. This is basically our open file to create our custom connectors. I just need to direct to the related folder in our app. Okay, so let's choose import open file, and then I'll type it subscription, and then I will import file under the folder I just showed you, and then it will generate the subscription custom connector for us. The only part missing for our connector is the authentication. So authentication type is selected as O 2.0. So we are using Azure Active Directory to do that. We already have a registered app and we have client ID, secret, we have all the details we just need to fill in. The first thing I'll do is just filling all these details. I have secret just copied. Here's the place I copy my secret. Let's paste it in here. Let's go ahead and grab the client ID from the overview part. I'll just copy this and paste it in here. And the final part I'll fill is the resource URL, which is graph.microsoft.com. And then we are basically done with the custom connector. We will click on Create Connector, and our custom connector will be created automatically. So we need to do some connections before we jump into creating the flow. We basically need to go to Data tab, and then we will choose Connections, and we will create the connections of the related connectors we will use in our flow. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on New Connection. I will first create a connection with our subscription custom connector. I will click Create, and I will authenticate with my demo tenant account here. I will consent on behalf of everybody in my organization and accept this one. I will just repeat this step for teams. I will create an authentication. Basically, I will complete the authorization process here for Teams connector as well. And finally, I will do exact same thing for Azure Active Directory connector. I will just choose AD and create authentication with my demo tenant again. Once we are done with creating the connections, the next step is finally creating our flows. So here we can basically choose new flow so that you can create flow from scratch, or you can basically import the flow using a zip file. I already provided you the zip file you required for this demo in the GitHub repo. So you can click on import and you can choose the zip file under the same folder I just shown you, M365 subscription flow folder under our app in GitHub, and you can choose presence subscription flow zip file here. So that it will bring us all the details about our flow. Okay, so we have to do a couple setup here. First thing first, we need to choose our flow and update import setup. We will set up this flow as a new flow. We are not updating the current one. and I will save this. Second, we need to choose our connector, and then we need to choose our connections with the connector, Teams, and Azure Active Directory. Let's select our connector shown here. We will also select our connection with the connector and Teams, as well as Active Directory. Let's click on import, and we are done. Our flow seems like created. Let's go to our flow. All right, so this is our flow and it's in our account. Let's take a quick look. We have a recurrence every 61 minutes. We have a chosen teams. If you want to choose any other teams, and if you want to track changes for different set of users, you can actually change the team under this connector. We have team ID tracking here. And finally, this is a step we need to customize right in here. We are using subscription custom connector to create our subscription for presence data. And here, as you can see, we have change tab as updated. We have notification URL we have to update. We have resource as communications, presences, and filter ID. Basically, we are just getting all this data from the array of ID we collect from Teams, and we have expiration date time as 1 hour later. The only thing I need to do is just updating the notification URL. To do that, I will need my secret name from the key vault. I will copy paste here. I will need the vault URI, as I mentioned earlier. I'll just copy this and paste it here. Let's delete this last bit. And then we will need tenant ID. So once we're done with this, we can actually save our flow. Let's go ahead and check the flow checker. Everything works. And when I want to test this app, seems like our flow is disabled. Let's go ahead and enable our flow. Okay, here you can either go to flow checker, or you can basically click on the turn on button on the left side. I'll go ahead and check the flow checker, and here there's an option to fix this issue as turn this flow on. It will basically do exactly the same thing. Now our flow is enabled and I can run the flow. Okay, so it seems like our flow is running successfully. That's great news. Let's check out what we get in here. In the subscription, that means our HTTP request succeeded. And here in the subscription, I can see that we successfully created a subscription using our Power Automate flow. That's great. That means that now, whenever there is a change in the present status of any person we are tracking, we have to see the changes in our event hub. Let's try to do that. Okay, to test this, I will open Teams for a user. Okay, let's go to teams.microsoft.com. And I'm logged in as, again, my demo tenant. I will change the status as be right back. And let's quickly go to our event hub. I will go to event hub namespace, and I will go inside my event hub and see if we see any changes. Oh, there we go. Now we can see the changes. Basically, data is coming through the event hub. That means now, when there's a change happening in the present status of any person we want to track, we get the data in our event hub. That's exciting. Okay, so next step for us is basically using this data. So how we're going to use this data in our app? We will need SignalR to get this data real time in our app. I will search for SignalR. I will click on SignalR service and create. And then let's make sure we have the right subscription here. We will choose the same resource group, and I will give SignalR a name, brainstorm app -SignalR. I will choose region West US. Pricing tier will be standard. Service default will be serverless. Make sure that you choose serverless here. In the next video, I will describe you why we choose serverless here. Right, so I'll click review and create, and I will create the SignalR. And once it is deployed, we will just go into our SignalR service. Now that we set up all of our resources on Azure, the next step for us is getting the data through Azure Event Hubs and broadcasting data real-time using SignalR into our app. In next session, I will show you how to integrate real-time data in our React app. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye.